Welcome everyone. Today we'll continue working on unit number 4. We'll work on a specific group of consonant sounds, plosive sounds. So far we have defined consonants. We talked about their main features, how we can classify consonant sounds according to different variables, and also how consonant sounds are combined into clusters. But now we'll take one of those variables, manner of articulation, to group consonant sounds and to analyze them in turns. So today we'll define and describe plosives or plosive sounds. As we studied in the previous lesson, the first group of consonants, plosives, are 6, and 3 of them are voiceless and 3 of them are voiced. Let's remember that voicing refers to the vibration of the vocal cords or vocal folds. Voiceless sounds are sounds in whose production there is no vibration, and voiced sounds are those sounds in whose production there is vibration of the vocal folds. So, what is a plosive sound? Just in the same way in which we described vowel sounds, we'll describe each group of consonant sounds from 2 points of view, the phonetic point of view and the phonological point of view. So, from the phonetic point of view, that is to say, the point of view of articulation, a plosive is a consonant sound in the production of which the articulators are moved against each other to form total obstruction to the airflow. The air is compressed and suddenly released, producing a loud noise called plosion. Let's check some examples of words that contain plosive sounds. Pet, bed, toy, day, cake, goat. There are 4 stages or phases in the production of plosive sounds, although some authors only acknowledge the existence of 3 of them, which are the first 3 that we're going to mention. The first one is the closing phase. During this phase, the articulators move against each other to form stricture or obstruction. During the second phase or stage, the compression one, the air is held and compressed, so it is prevented from escaping and the pressure increases. The third phase is the release phase. So during this stage, the articulators separate or move away from each other, and the air is suddenly released, causing plosion. The fourth phase is the post-release phase, and it is a stage or phase that is not regarded or considered by different authors, as I mentioned before, and it refers to what happens after the release phase. So now we're going to start describing each one of the sounds, of the plosive sounds we mentioned before, and as we said, they come in pairs, in which one of the sounds is voiceless and the other one is voiced. To describe each one of the sounds, we'll mention 3 different variables. The first one is the manner of articulation, and in all of the cases we'll mention today is plosive, because they are all plosive sounds. But then we will mention the point of articulation, that means the articulators that are involved, and then we'll mention whether they are voiced or voiceless. So the first pair is p and b. Let's see p. The first sound is plosive, of course. The articulators involved are the lips, and there is no vibration of the vocal cords. So this sound is described or named the voiceless bilabial plosive. On the other hand, b is the voiced bilabial plosive. It has the same characteristics, It shares the same articulators that are involved in its production, and of course that it's also a plosive. Here there's a graphic that shows the point of articulation or the place of articulation, which are the lips. The next pair is t and d. Let's see the first one. This plosive sound, in the production of this plosive sound, the articulators involved are the alveolar ridge and the tongue, because the blade of the tongue approaches the alveolar ridge. Let's remember that the alveolar ridge is that little bump behind our teeth. In the production of this sound, there is no vibration of the vocal cords. So this is a voiceless alveolar plosive. The second sound is, of course, alveolar, is also plosive, but in the production of this sound, there is vibration of the vocal cords. So this is the voiced alveolar plosive. Here's the graphic again, showing a different point of articulation, the alveolar ridge. The last pair of plosive sounds is k and g. And the articulation of the first one of k, the articulators involved are the velum or soft palate and the tongue, because the back of the tongue approaches the velum. It makes contact with the velum, blocking the airflow that comes from the lungs. And then, of course, the air is released. In the production of this sound, there is no vibration of vocal cords. That's why it is called the voiceless velar plosive. In the case of g, there is vibration of the vocal cords, and the articulators involved are the same, so it is called the voiced velar plosive. This is a graphic that shows the point of articulation in this case, which is the soft palate or velum. Just like vowel sounds, when they are in contact with other sounds, consonants may present different allophonic variation. This means allophones or acceptable realizations of consonant sounds which do not change the meaning of the word. So the first allophonic variation and the most important one that we'll study is aspiration. Aspiration is the extra puff of air that accompanies the production of voiceless plosives when they occur at the beginning of stressed syllables. There is a voiceless interval between the release of the plosive sound and the beginning or the onset of the following stressed vowel sound. This process affects p, t, k. That's to say, it affects voiceless plosive sounds. These sounds can be aspirated, weakly aspirated, or unaspirated. Voiceless sounds are aspirated when they precede a stressed vowel or semivowel. For example, pen. As you can see, this transcription goes between square brackets because we are transcribing allophones, not phonemes. And in this case, you can see that very small h is a diacritic, and that is the way in which we represent aspiration. Voiceless plosives are weakly aspirated when they precede an unstressed vowel. Since the vowel sound is before a schwa, it is in an unstressed vowel, and in this case, it is pronounced today, today, not today, but today. Finally, voiceless plosives are unaspirated when they are preceded by s or the alveolar fricative sound or followed by a fricative or another plosive consonant sound. We have some examples: stay, cats, doctor. In these cases, there's a non-audible release, meaning that the last stage of the production of plosives is not present in the process. Another process that affects plosives is called devoicing. This process affects voiced plosives b, d, g in initial position. So when b, d, g are in initial position, they have little or no voicing. So in words like pin, the presence of aspiration is essential, crucial for distinguishing this word from others like bin. Pin, bin. It's important to take that into account. This is the way in which we transcribe this kind of process, this allophonic variation called devoicing. There is another process, another allophonic variation, which is called the glottal stop or glottalization. In this process, voiceless plosives may be accompanied by a glottal reinforcement. It means that it is produced with an additional closure of the vocal cords, and this is common in some regional English accents. This phenomenon is represented with this symbol you can see here. So here's an example, and the pronunciation is water instead of water, water. This may happen at the end of a word, as in the word put instead of put. Some native speakers would say put. And then it can be not glottal reinforcement but a glottal replacement of the alveolar plosive t. Another example is button. Instead of button, button. So far we have described plosive sounds from the phonetic point of view, that is, from the articulatory point of view. But now we will describe them from the phonological point of view, that is, from the point of view of distribution. All 6 plosives can occur in word initial position, medial position, and in word final position. Let's check some examples. Pin, apple, cap. As you can see, these plosive sounds can occur in all 3 positions in the word. They can occur also in clusters, both with other plosive sounds or with other group of consonant sounds, as in skate, talked. The only restriction we will name is that in initial position, voiced plosives b, d, g cannot be preceded by other consonants. This is the only restriction that we will mention for now. Now let's study some information about Spanish plosive sounds. In Spanish, there are 6 plosive phonemes, p, b, t, d, k, g, just as in English. But the main difference between English and Spanish plosives is the articulation of d and t, and it is very important to be aware of this, because in Spanish, the point of articulation is dental, as in dato, dato, but in English, it is alveolar, as in day, day, day. So in Spanish, the tip of the tongue is between your teeth, dia, dia. But in English, it is on the point of articulation is the tongue and the alveolar ridge. The blade of the tongue approaches the alveolar ridge. Day, day. Another difference is that English plosives are always stops. Stops. It means that there is a complete constriction, obstruction to the airflow. But in Spanish, b, d, g, the voice plosives, can become fricatives when they are between vowel sounds, as in these examples. Aguja, dedo, bebé. We don't say aguja, dedo, bebé. We say aguja, dedo, bebé. So these sounds are realized as fricatives. These are allophonic variations.